This program on investing under regulation crowdfunding is not investment advice.
Rising with the crowd, power unbound, change makers lead where hope is found. Superpowers for good, shaping the fate. Investors and dreamers open the gate. Super Crow stands loud, proud and true, building tomorrow for me and you.
Welcome to the Superpowers for Good show from the Super Crowd. I'm your host, Devin Thorpe, and I want to welcome all of you to the show today. You know, we see in our data, our viewership data, the show has a growing audience. So we know every week there are new people who are watching the show for the first time. We welcome you especially. I want to encourage you to stick around and watch the entire episode so you know what we do here. We're always bringing on people who are genuine change makers, making the world a better place one way or another. And most often, they're doing something that you can support with an investment. And today, we've got a great guest, one of the real OGs of crowdfunding. And the regulated investment crowdfunding marketplace exists because of a few select people like him. We've got with us Sherwood Woodie Neiss on the show today. Woody, welcome to the show.
Devin,
we're thrilled to have you.
Great to be here as always.
Yeah. This is, I can't count how many times you've been on the show, and it goes back to, I think that the first time you were on the show might have been as early as 2013 or 2014. It's been a minute.
And I had gray hair now. I mean,
yeah. I just count my blessings that there's any hair left up here, you know. So yeah, it's been, things have changed. I remember very distinctly what a young guy you were,
right?
when we met, and maybe that isn't your distinguishing feature anymore. But it's great to have you back on the show. You know, I like to point out to people, it's just such an important point of establishing your credibility in the regulated investment crowdfunding space, to point out that you were pivotal enough in the process of getting the law passed that defines this marketplace, that you were invited to the White House, to the Rose Garden signing ceremony when this bill was signed by President Obama in 2012. And billions of dollars have been moved, raised, invested under the provisions of that law. It's amazing. You're a big deal, and we're thrilled to have you here to talk about your new book. I've been talking too much. I need to turn the time over to you. Tell us about Investomers.
So to your point, I am thrilled, like so incredibly thrilled to announce the release of this book, Investomers. It takes essentially 14 years of my thinking on investment crowdfunding and puts it into a 400-page book. It chronicles the role that we played in creating this legislation, lobbying for it in Congress, testifying in front of Congress, being at the White House, working with the SEC for those 4 years to get it done. And then going into the work that we did with the World Bank, the work that we did with Wiley Publishers on writing the Dummies Guide to Investment Crowdfunding. And so what's happened over the past 14 years is I've had the opportunity to work across the spectrum with governments, regulators, entrepreneurs, investors. And I was thinking, you know, and lately we've been working with, you know, economic development offices. And I was just like, I need to take everything and consolidate it into a book so that anyone, it doesn't matter if you're a government official, if you're a regulator, if you're an entrepreneur, if you're an investor, if your job is helping grow businesses, create jobs, create innovation, what this industry is about, the economic benefits for it, how you succeed in it, and where it's going in the future. And that's what I did with this book. It took me a year. Like last January, I sat down with a friend of mine that I have Tuesday goal meetings with. And he said, okay, what's your big goal for 2024? And I said, I don't know if this is too big of a goal, but I want to write a book that summarizes all of my thinking on this industry. And he's like, well, that's great. Let's set that as the goal. And so we gave myself a year to do it. I've done a lot of crazy hard things. This ranks up there as one of the hardest things to do because it took time to sit down and do writing sessions. And Devin, you wrote your own book, so you understand the work that goes into it. And over, the course of the year, where I broke it down into little bits and pieces, hit those milestones, talk to people about what else I needed to add in there. And the book is, a lot of data-driven insights from the work that we've done with investment crowdfunding about the economic rationale for this. We've got this whole chapter that I called the crowdfundonomics equation, which breaks down all the variables that you need to have a successful offering. And I dig into that. And it's just, I'm just really excited to have it out there.
Well, it is. It is wonderful to be thinking about being able to tap into the mind of someone who is so incredibly important in this space. Let's step back, create just a little bit of context around your expertise. You are not only the author of this book, not only one of the OGs of crowdfunding, but you are a partner in Crowdfund Capital Advisors. And you have a fund that you manage. You're actively investing in crowd deals, and you have a huge database where you are tracking every Reg CF offering and other offerings. I think you also track Reg A offerings. And so you have a database that is comprehensive in terms of the measuring the space. So you have a unique, tell us about, you tell us about all the great things that you're doing in this space that give you the expertise to write a book like this that isn't just a memoir about your great day at the White House.
And thank you. I really appreciate that. So when we were at the bill signing ceremony at the White House and we left, I had the opportunity to be interviewed by Bloomberg Television about what is this new law? What does it mean for startups and small businesses? And we had just formed Crowdfund Capital Advisors to be an advisory and consulting service related to investment crowdfunding, but more on a policy level. And that's where we got our work with the World Bank in the 43 countries that we were working in. But the reporter after the interview, he said to me, he goes, you've got like a fascinating background. You started on Wall Street, you went to Silicon Valley, you started your own company, you sold that to a private equity group. What do you want to do in this space? And, I was just like, quite frankly, I don't know. And he goes, well, you've got a whole database background in your Silicon Valley space. He goes, we buy data. So why don't you build a data aggregator? Because someone's got to do it. And start collecting information on all the offerings. And so when the industry went live in 2016, our database went live. And so from the minute this industry launched, we've been collecting information, not just on the companies and where they are and their financials and all that stuff, but every day, how much money has been committed to an offering and how many investors. And with those data points, we can track what we call investor sentiment, issuer sentiment, so are issuers growing in this space? How are the economic, geopolitical events affecting their ability to raise capital? And we track all that information in our database that we call C-Clear. And so it is, it's the only 100% complete, comprehensive data set on investment crowdfunding that's out there. So because of that, we've been really fortunate to work with a lot of data scientists that are, they're like, we need a 100% clean database. And so we've been able to provide that type of data and analysis of what's happening in the marketplace because we can look at the entire data set and see what's been happening. And so with that, we do a lot of really fascinating stuff. We, of course, write the annual State of the Industry report, which interestingly enough was 8 pages long when the industry launched in 2016. I just finished working on the 2025 report with our team, and it was 210 pages long. So you can see that there is a lot to dissect in this industry. But we also use all the data to help people understand what's happening in the marketplace. If you're an investor and you're like, how do I even know with 650 active offerings over 150 registered platforms, not all of them are active, where do we even find these deals? So we've got things like this Capital Pulse report that takes all the data, and we created our own algorithm to help people understand where we think the signals are for success. We're trying not to give investment advice because we're not regulated to do that, but we just look for what we think are positive signals in the data set where people can then do their own diligence and make their own investment decisions. We also do reports because there's analysts that want to see what's happening in the industry. Is it growing? What part of what industries within crowdfunding are seeing the most growth? It's been fascinating in 2024 how healthcare and biotech and life sciences were the hottest companies in investment crowdfunding, which is breakout from the year before, which is software and technology. So we take the data, we repurpose it, we publish reports. We do that all through our division called CClear. It's cclear.ai, and it provides a lot of insights. But that was the genesis, really. I've got this report, I got this background, I understand the law, I've worked at the World Bank, we wrote a World Bank report. Let's put all this into a book. And it's a book that's not based on theory per se, but it's based on data. And I'm a firm believer that data doesn't lie. You've got case studies in there that show both success and failures across all sorts of spectrum in donation. I even covered donation and rewards in there because I think it's important to understand the whole spectrum of crowdfunding. But we go into, the successes in equity and debt as well. And so, that's what you get with, a lot of intel.
Yeah, it's you have really created something just so vitally important and a great contribution to the industry to be able to tap into your mind in this way. So thank you very much for writing it. What is the key takeaway from the book for an investor? As someone who wants to learn to invest better, what are the insights in the book that make the book valuable to that group of people?
There's a fundamental shift that is happening in the marketplace, and we are on the beginning, the first two innings of it with investment crowdfunding. And that is the role of investors is not a passive one anymore. You can be a passive investor if you want to invest in, public stocks and Wall Street. And that's where the majority of your portfolio should be, by the way. This segment of the marketplace, investment crowdfunding, are companies at their earliest stages, their earliest parts of growth, the riskiest stage. Many of them do fail. A lot of the reasons for failure is lack of capital, which I'm hoping we're solving for with investment crowdfunding. But for investors that are looking at this book, I think what it does is it shows them how to be smart about making an investment into a crowdfunded company. They need to look at it from the way in which analysts also look at the way VCs look at a company. Does it solve a problem? Would you be a consumer of that product? Most of the people that are investing in these companies have a first or second degree relationship to the entrepreneur or the business itself. So you have to be engaged in what they're doing. And then at that, you have to think to yourself, can I bring something to this company that can help them scale? And in return, if I'm an owner in it, then I will benefit from, if hopefully a future exit that company has, merger or sale or an IPO. So the book is really about how, part of it, I should say, about how investors look at these opportunities, diligence them to see if it's the right fit for them, engage in them by becoming investors in those businesses, and then become active participants in the growth of those businesses by sharing their knowledge, their insight, their Rolodex with the company itself.
That's it. I think this book is just such a great contribution to, the portfolio of books that exist around this space. And one of the things I think it brings is that the space evolves. And so having a fresh take from you, one of the deep experts, is really invaluable. And so I'm excited to finish reading the book myself, and grateful that you'd come and talk to us about the book and all that you're doing. Listen, we got to take a quick break. I'm here today with Woodie Neiss. He is Sherwood Neiss. He is the author of Investomers, a new book, but really one of the OGs of regulated investment crowdfunding, and was there at the Obama White House for the signing ceremony of the law that created this whole industry. He's a big deal. We're going to take a break, but when we come back, we'll talk to Woodie about his superpower. You don't want to miss this.
Download a free copy of How to Make Money with Impact Crowdfunding. The book Sarah Hanks describes as
a fantastic overview, not just of crowdfunding investing, but of investing in general.
Andrew Savickas raved,
"This book offers unparalleled insights for anyone looking to make a difference."
Scan the QR code to get your copy.
SuperCrowd LA is the must-attend conference for impact investors, social entrepreneurs, and community builders. Learn from experts who've raised millions, including Jason Fishman of DNA, Sarah Hardwick of The Crowd, and Doug Wilmore of WorldTree. Plus, a live pitch with top investment opportunities. Early bird pricing ends soon.
Struggling to raise capital for your business? Unlock the power of the crowd with AI. My free guide, Crowdfunding Made Simple, walks you through every step to success. Get funded smarter, faster. Scan the QR code now for your free download.
Welcome back, everyone. I am so excited today. This is just such an important episode in the history of the Superpowers for Good show. We have with us today Woodie Neiss, who is the author of Investomers, a new book about regulated investment crowdfunding. He's really one of the true OGs of the space, having been invited to the signing ceremony at the White House when President Obama signed this law, and it became law. He's a big deal, and we're grateful to have him. We're going to shift gears now to talk to Woodie about his superpower. Stick around. Woodie, I've said it over and over, you're a big deal, and you've accomplished so much. This new book is a key contribution to the industry, but your annual industry reports are a vital tool for the industry. Then, of course, your database is a key resource that people rely on. You're actively investing. And you've traveled the world sharing your expertise. And good golly, what is your superpower?
Staying alive. My superpower plays into exactly everything that you've just been saying. I am one of these people that I'm a yes man. So I'm constantly saying yes instead of saying, I'm sorry, no, I can't. And if you're that type of person and you don't want to let people down, you have to figure out how you can add something to your plate, accomplish everything that you need to accomplish, and not let anyone down at the same time. I was fortunate enough when I had my company FlavorX to be part of Young Entrepreneurs Organization, which is now EO. And I took, and EO is all about teaching entrepreneurs to be smarter entrepreneurs, how to scale their businesses faster. It was such a valuable group for me at the time. And I remember in one of the universities that I went to this lecture and I listened to this guy saying, you can accomplish anything as long as you break it down. And he's like, you need to take anything that you're doing and break it down into 100 steps, and then do one of those a day. And he goes, in 100 days, you will have 100% complete. And he goes, now, probably not going to do in 100 days, but the principle of that, the theory behind it is break it down, everything down into small chunks so that you can accomplish something in a day, in a week, or whatever, but keeps the ball moving forward. So my superpower is the ability to have a plate that includes Crowdfund Capital Advisors, that includes C-Clear for our data, that includes Guard, which is our tool that facilitates secondary trading, our D3VC, which is our venture fund that invests in select investment crowdfunding startups. You can see this plate's full of a lot of things. And then last year, I decided to add a 400-page book on top of it. The only way I was able to get that done by saying, okay, I need to manage everything that's on my plate right now, but I also want to get this book done. And so I'm going to break it down into 100 different steps, and I'm going to work on each of those systematically and get it done in a year. Now, I didn't get it done in exactly a year, but I got it done in a year and 45 days, which is close enough to me. And the point is, I got it done. So that's my superpower, is looking at things, saying yes, and continuing to check it off.
That is a great superpower. And of course, your book is a perfect example. You talked a little bit about how you were sort of coached on this with the YEO back in the day, this concept of breaking it down into small chunks. Clearly, that is a key step. And so I appreciate that guidance for us. But there is more to it, right? You actually had to do it. Tell us what other tips and tactics you could suggest to us for actually accomplishing the big project. Breaking it down into small chunks is part of it.
Mm-hmm.
But that's not the whole story. What else enabled you to get this massive tome completed and to keep all the other things on your plate moving in the proper direction?
So I think one of the challenges that entrepreneurs have when they are running a business, particularly if they're a single founder as opposed to a co-founder, is the fact that that everything is on your shoulders. You come up with the ideas, you decide whether something's good or bad, and you decide whether or not you're going to move forward with it. That's great if you have the ability to do that. But a lot of times you're left wondering, is it the right thing to do? What I realized is I operate independently. I've got Zach that I work with here, other people that I work with on an independent basis as well. But at the end of the day, this is a lot of stuff going on in my head. So I thought, this happened a few years ago. I went to my neighbor, Andy, who's a financial advisor. And I said, listen, here's the deal. You run your own, financial advisory service. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm running my own business. I need someone to hold me accountable. Like, I don't want my spouse holding me accountable. I don't want to listen to that. I already have to listen to that at home. But I want a friend, someone that believes in me, someone that knows what I'm doing, to be like, Woody, what are you going to get done this week? What are the things that you can and cannot do? And also, what are the things you're going to take off your plate? Like, I need someone to be like, that's not important. Let's move on. Let's move it off the plate. Let's move it to the back burner. And so finding Andy for me was the person that brought that accountability, then setting the structure into which we have these meetings. And so we have Tuesday meetings at 9 a.m. at a coffee shop, and we split it up where we each go over we actually incorporated personal, business, health in there to set goals within each of those. But it allows us to keep on track with what we're doing. And I think that's a critical component to the whole thing, because you can't just rely on yourself to be accountable. You actually have to have someone else out there. And if there's someone that you can trust that can commit to that schedule, and we've done it. Like, I don't have meetings on Tuesdays at 9 a.m. I'm meeting with Andy. That's the most important thing. And you know what's the best part about it is Monday afternoon, I know I got to see Andy in the morning. I go through my list of things that I was supposed to get done for the week, and I quickly start getting things done. And that's the best part of it, is I know that I'm just having a meeting with Andy and I've got to report to him what I got done. I don't want to let him down and tell him I didn't get anything done. So it's all about moving the ball forward just a little bit, and that accountability and having that meeting. So I would encourage you, if you want to go down this path, find someone that you know and trust, someone that will show up on a weekly basis, and set to that sort of schedule that we did.
Yeah, boy, I see how powerful that is. I'm sitting here feeling a little bit jealous because, I'm thinking, who could be my accountability partner? Man, this would be great. Yeah, I see what how Andy sort of brings your superpower to life in a way, right?
Totally.
He activates it for you, and we all need that kind of person. That's just such a great tip. Well, listen, I'm so grateful that you could come on the show today. Let's take a minute now as we wrap up and talk about how people can get Investomers, how they can contact you, how they can get a hold of your C-Clear data, how they can get your annual report. Give us the whole download on all of that, if you would.
Okay, so the book is available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. You have copies for a paperback. You've got versions of a hardcover. And there's the Kindle ebook too that you can get. On Barnes & Noble, I think it's just the hardcover and the paperback. So feel free to go on there. It's $29.95 or $10 for the ebook. So it's set at a price point that's meant to be affordable. What I'm loving to see right now is it's moving up the list of the, where it ranks in the both crowdfunding and venture capital. I'm trying to get to the top. So the more people that buy it, the better. So that's the book. The C-Clear, just go to C-Clear, CCLEAR.ai. And that is our data center. That will take you to the brains of where we have all our reports that cover the industry, the annual report, and the data itself, where people can subscribe to it, they can license it. And then crowdfundcapitaladvisors.com is where you get in touch with me, Sherwood at the ccagroup.com. And then, we will get back to you with anything that you want to know about consulting and advisory related to crowdfunding, about the data, if you want to create jobs.
Okay. And thank you very much for